Chesapeake, Virginia, 1650 AM WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick and at GJBTV.com. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
All right, glad you're with us on this very pretty fall November 16th, right before Thanksgiving. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us for Sports Scene every Wednesday noon to 1. Also, tunein.com, type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. Tell your friends about 1650. On Twitter, at Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at GJBTV, and HR1LineMall.com. Thank you to our military for what you do 24/7. Great guest lineup. Featured guest today, Kevin Sheehan. We've had him on several times before from ESPN 980, the host of Cooley and Sheehan from 7 to 11 in the DMV. Sponsors on GJBTV.com, marketplace sponsors. Guest lineup presented by Mi Casita Mexican Restaurant with 2 locations in Virginia Beach. Phone line presented by Newcastle. Sponsors this month are Spaghetti Eddie's, Newcastle, Crawlspace, and Mi Hogar. The polls, what we found out the last few weeks in college football, or the elections, really don't mean anything in politics or sports. Just look at college football this past weekend with all the upsets. Very obvious. Predictions or premonitions really mean nothing as well, because who would have thought the Cowboys would be playing as good as they are? We're going to take a short break, come back with Kevin Sheehan right here on Sports Scene on 1650. Stay tuned.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet. Protect your house. Call Crawlspace Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawlspace doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawlspace Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedoors.com. Stay dry, my friends.
People in Chesapeake and Hampton Roads have come to expect the finest Italian food at Spaghetti Eddie's. In addition to great lunch and dinner served daily, this fine establishment caters to and can host your party. Call 484-7301 for their Taylor Road location and call 410-5500 for their restaurant in Greenbrier. For more, log on to SpaghettiEddiesPizzaCafe.com.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to GJBTV.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene on 1650 AM and TuneIn.com.
And welcome back to Sports Scene right here on News Talk 1650 at 12:09. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. And, of course, anybody listening on TuneIn.com by typing in WHKT. I thought I'd be starting to talk about the Redskins game against the Packers, but I'm going to start off with talking about Maryland and Georgetown. Kevin Sheehan, of course, you went to Maryland. You've been talking about this game for several years. It's finally happened the last few years. What a game last night.
Oh my God, Greg! It was an unbelievable finish to that game, and you know you got to be from up here to really understand the Georgetown Maryland thing. It's been a rivalry for years, but not because they've played each other, but because they haven't played each other, and the reasons why they haven't played each other. So the last 2 years, you've had this 2-game home and home. Last year, Comcast Center in College Park, and last night at the Verizon Center, Georgetown's home floor, downtown D.C. And it just, the 2 games you put side by side, they both just included incredible endings. Maryland was down 8 last year with 3.5 to go, came back and won. And last night down 9 with 2 minutes to go and came back and won in improbable fashion. And now the question is, will this series continue? And there's a lot of talk that this may be the end of it. And it's a shame because they are the 2 power programs in this area. The D.C. area, for people that don't know, obviously it's a Redskins, town first and foremost, but it is a big-time basketball town, and really the basketball of choice is college basketball. Maryland's program and Georgetown's program, both national championship programs, and them playing each other is just good for the city, and we've seen it the last 2 years. Last night was an incredible ending.
Yeah, and the crowd, if you looked on Fox Sports 1, wasn't exactly packed at first, but as the game went on, I mean, it had a lot of elements. It was a week after the election. It started early at 6:30. That's right during rush hour. It's a November basketball game when football is still talked about every day, yet it was Georgetown, Maryland. People made a way to find to get there.
Yeah, last night there was just a conspiring of events that really impacted the gate. I think they ended up with about 14,000 in a 20,000-seat arena. Part of it was you can't start a sports event in this city at 6:30. The traffic is, every year voted among the top 2 or 3 worst traffic situations in America. You can't start an event at 6:30 and expect people to say, yeah, let me leave work early and spend an hour and a half on the road to try to get there. Last year when the game was at Comcast Center, 9 o'clock start, the building didn't have an empty seat in it 45 minutes before tip-off, and that place holds 18,000. So you also had a lot of protests downtown last night. That stuff continues in cities all across America. That was going on last night. You had heightened security. It was just a nightmare to get everybody into that building. And then by the second half, though, it was quite an atmosphere no matter how many people were in there. It was, at Maryland last year, Greg, you could have counted the number of Georgetown fans on one hand in the building. Last night, it's probably 50-50 split, maybe 55-45 Georgetown to Maryland fans, but it created almost like an NCAA tournament regional kind of feel and atmosphere.
Right, talking to Kevin Sheehan from ESPN 980. I was a colleague of Kevin's. Red Zebra owned Virginia Beach stations down here from 2007 to 13, and Mr. Snyder still owns stations in Richmond and the DMV as well. And you talk about it too. Just so much going on, Kevin, and I think it really affected the entire football season. Since the election is finally over with, people really haven't talked a lot about college football as much, or even the NFL as much as far as the ratings, because they've been affected by the election. How did it affect you guys' show? Of course, the Redskins were in the news every week up there, but the election was that big monster until it was over with. Now people can take a sigh of relief, whether they like the result or not.
Yeah, I definitely think this particular general election year, because it was so incredibly unique, I think it definitely weighed in and factored into, the NFL's TV ratings. I mean, look, the election was over, and we saw, even though they were 2 great games, Pittsburgh, Dallas, and Seattle, New England, but we saw 2 of the highest-rated games in the last 5 years last weekend, not coincidentally, the week after the election. But Greg, this from this town, if the Redskins are playing well and they're in the hunt for anything, it is still a massive story in this town, and we can't really, in sports talk radio in Washington, talk enough about the Redskins on a daily basis. If we sort of go astray from talking about the Redskins or just the NFL in general, it's got to be because of something like last night, Maryland, Georgetown, where a significant percentage of the sports fan population really does care about that and doesn't mind if you go away from it. But the Redskins at 5-3-1 are in the hunt for everything right now. Maybe not the division, although I wouldn't count that completely out quite yet. But they're in the hunt, and as you know, I mean, we through 9 games in a season, this is the best record they've had since 2008.
Have you and Cooley talked a lot about this? I'll listen to your show as much as I possibly can. The point margin difference, Kevin, it's so close, win or lose with the Redskins team this year. You look, except for the Steelers game, you look at the Cowboys 4 points, Giants 2 points, the Browns was 11, but that was close. The Ravens was 6, the Eagles 7, Lions 3, and of course the tie. Then last week was 6 points. I mean, really, it's almost like a fingernail difference.
Yeah, the last 4 games have come down to the last 5, have come down to the actual final possession of the game. Boy, isn't that the NFL?
Yeah.
The teams that are, out, within the margins of what Roger Goodell and Paul Tagliabue before him and Pete Rozelle before him, the league that they wanted, which was a league of parity. Every year, you got this group of 27, 28 teams that are somewhere between 6-10 and 10-6, depending on how the ball bounces and how the injury bug hits or doesn't hit. And the Redskins are in that group. I don't even know who's above that group this year. Maybe New England, maybe not. They're not that great defensively. The Browns are horrible on the other side of it, but after that, who's really horrible? Maybe Chicago. But they're right there in that group of 27, 28 teams that, could be like they are 5-3-1 right now, or they could be 3-5-1.
Great point, too. And you guys always talk about the Redskins performing on national television. Well, they've got an opportunity to silence the critics the next two games. I mean, playing the Packers, who right now are having controversy with their quarterback and their coach and their team, they're losing. That's the bottom line. But they still have Aaron Rodgers. And the Cowboys, who just had an emotional press conference by Tony Romo, yes, they're winning, but they're still vulnerable with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, boy, the Dallas thing is starting to get to the point where I think as a Redskin fan, you just have to recognize they're really good. I mean, Zeke Elliott is an NFL MVP candidate. I'm not sure he isn't the best player and most valuable player in the league right now, and they've got a quarterback that just doesn't make mistakes. Their defense is surprisingly good. You knew Sean Lee, if he were healthy, it would be better, but man, DeMarcus Lawrence has been, a major factor, an impactful player for them. So it's we do this every year where you look at the schedule and you say, oh, that game looks really tough and unwinnable, but you can't do that in the NFL. It's a week-to-week league. These Vikings-Packers games looked so imposing, a month ago, and you caught the Vikings in a downward spiral. You're catching the Packers, spiraling out of control, and then the Cowboy game, which early in the season with no Romo, you would have said, hey, you got a chance to sweep the Cowboys this year. They're the best team left on your schedule. So you just never know. The NFC East was it was universally picked to be the worst division in football, and right now, in terms of aggregate record, it's the best. Those are your three best opponents left: the Cowboys, Eagles, and Giants. And somehow the Redskins need to get two of the three, and throw in a win over the Bears and hopefully a win over the Packers, and find one more and get to 10-5-1, and that should be good enough for a playoff spot. Maybe not the division, but certainly a playoff spot.
Just like you said, exactly, week to week, talking to Kevin Sheehan from ESPN 980. We're live right here in Hampton Roads at 1218. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. 1650 AM. Also, tunein.com by typing in WHKT. Kevin, I've seen the Redskins 5 times working for Fox and CBS as the stage manager this year. And I have to say this before we continue with the interview. At the Ravens game, it was the most interesting feeling in the world. It was a nice day that day. And of course, we've talked about it before on this show, 35 miles apart. But it was really weird being in the stadium, and of course seeing the Ravens fans when the Redskins scored a touchdown. They didn't know whether to cheer, boo. A lot of them, of course, were closet Redskins fans. That was such a surreal experience. I just wanted to bring that up to you because I know how much you're involved in the DMV, including the Baltimore area.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, people that don't know this, Baltimore and Washington are separated by 35 miles, but boy, it seems like it could be 5,000 miles. The two cities are so different in their cultures and their personalities. And yeah, I mean, when the Colts left in the mid-'80s, a lot of the Baltimore people became Redskin fans, but not that much. There's this, desire, and there was always a desire to get their own team back. I don't think they adopted the Redskins the way Washingtonians, adopted the Orioles when the Senators left back in the early 70s. There really isn't a rivalry there between the Redskins and Baltimore because they're in opposite conferences. I mean, the Redskins' big games are the Cowboys, Giants, and Eagles, and the Ravens' big games are the Steelers and the Bengals, and maybe to the Browns to a lesser extent. But in this day and age of aftermarket ticket sales, it's amazing how these big marquee teams with big fan bases, how they travel and how they end up in road stadiums. The Cowboys, with that game at Heinz Field on Sunday, it was 50-50 in Pittsburgh, with Cowboy fans. And Redskin fans, when they are competitive, they travel. And there are a lot of them, nationwide. The Redskins still have a massive following. You'll see when they play Arizona in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, there will be a ton of Redskin fans in that stadium in Glendale. And I just think part of that, is even amplified more in this day and age with the ability to to access tickets through these aftermarket sales.
Right, talking to Kevin Sheehan. Exactly. In that game, the Redskins-Ravens, there were literally family members wearing same opposite jerseys. And you see a lot of that with the Nationals fans who are both Orioles fans. The animosity is not there because a lot of the Nats fans were O's fans. So
right.
I totally get that as well. The running game has been a big talk of the team this year. We're starting to see Robert Kelly playing very well, a rookie. And we mentioned Baltimore. Chris Thompson reminds me a lot of Joe Washington, who ironically did play for the Redskins and the Ravens. And Matt Jones, of course, has been injured, on and off. What's the status? Kelly seems like he's gaining confidence each week.
Yeah, at this point, the ship on Matt Jones has sailed unless Kelly gets hurt. Kelly's the back. Matt Jones was inactive Sunday against the Vikings. The backup was Mac Brown, who every time you ask Jay Gruden about the running back situation going back to last January, he'll mention Mac Brown's name. They like him a lot. But Rob Kelly proved the last 2 weeks, and on Sunday in particular, that he has the vision and patience as a runner, the urgency and toughness when required as a runner that Matt Jones didn't necessarily have. He's the guy. I mean, look, the running back position in the NFL, with the exception of a few that get drafted really high, like an Elliott or a Gurley or, Adrian Peterson, it really has become a commodity position. You can find them anywhere. You find them as undrafted free agents like Rob Kelly, and sometimes you'll find them, in the third round like David Johnson in Arizona. But it doesn't have to be an early round pick to find a great running back. Kelly really looks to be a guy that they can ride the rest of the year.
Talking to Kevin Sheehan from ESPN 980, another few minutes or so. Glad you're with us right here on Sports Scene every Wednesday, 12 to 1, archived on gjbtv.com by hitting the YouTube link. And you talk about Cousins, the big contract perennially, and he's finding a way to win. But to me, it's going to come down, is he going to lead this team to the playoffs, Kevin, and is he going to get a win in the playoffs? Then I think people will all relax on both sides.
Yeah, I personally think it's time for everybody to just recognize that he's your quarterback. And if you don't recognize that, I said the other day, if you just watch the Redskins week in and week out, you may think he's expendable. If you watch the rest of the league in addition to the Redskins games, then you realize that you can't let him go. He's a top 10 to 15 quarterback right now. And I'm not just talking about statistically where he's top 5 to top 10 in every measurable, both traditional and sort of advanced analytic. He is going to throw for nearly 5,000 yards. He's going to set more franchise records this year. Beyond that, there's no solution that's obvious. And beyond that, the fit with this system, Jay Gruden, Sean McVay's West Coast system, is perfect for him. It's the talent surrounding it. It's the quick throw, get the ball out, read the defense, figure out where you're going pre-snap. He's just very good at this. I mean, you look at guys that have got paid. Brock Osweiler threw for 99 yards last week. Kirk Cousins throwing for 250 to 300 in his sleep each week. Does he need to win a playoff game? The offense is one half, of what you do out there, and the Redskins' defense isn't that good. So I don't know if they'll win a playoff game or not, but I would doubt that if they lose a playoff game, it would be because of him or this offense that's actually almost impossible to get off the field, within 5 or 6 plays. They lead the league in yards per drive. They lead the league in the fewest 3 and outs. They lead the league in the fewest punts. They don't punt. It's amazing. They've struggled in the red zone a little bit, that's for sure, but it's a prolific offense that I think will continue to get better and better because of him. I think he'll get paid in the offseason.
And so many weapons. Of course, we've seen Reed being injured, but Crowder has done so well on special teams. I mean, just the Vernon Davis, just so many players who've stepped up who are not exactly young either, and Davis is one of those guys as well.
Man, Vernon Davis has been such a pleasant surprise. He hasn't lost a step. The last time anybody saw him before this year was in Denver, where Peyton basically threw a couple of balls to him end of season. He dropped them, and he never went back to him. You talk to the coaches, Vernon Davis is their deep threat as much much as he is any other threat. He still runs a legit 4.4. He's incredibly strong, and he's definitely having sort of a career resurgence here. I think they're going to end up having to sign him to a longer-term deal when this season's over. He's been that valuable.
Kind of reminds me of D'Angelo Hall, the opposite end. Of course, Hall has been out for the entire year. A couple of guys I want to ask you about. Deshaun Jackson. He seemed like he had a little bit of an attitude the first half of the season. He was injured recently. Is he a long-term fixture with all the weapons the Redskins have? And also Pierre Garçon, he plays well in spurts, but again, he's no spring chicken either.
Right now, I mean, and there are 7 regular season games left and maybe a playoff game or 2. Right now, I would lean towards he's not back and they re-sign Pierre. Pierre's just been more reliable. He's been more available. He's made plays. Deshaun, week in and week out, is always a question mark. Is he going to be available physically? When he's there, are you going to be able to put him on the field for enough snaps where, you know, he helps in the plays that he's not involved in? Pierre's a phenomenal blocker in the run game. Jackson, not so much. The other thing, too, is that Jackson is an unrestricted free agent. Because of his playmaking ability and speed, there's still going to be a market for him. So there may be a team or two that's more desperate and willing with cap space, a lot of cap space, to really pay him maybe an unreasonable deal for where he is in his career that the Redskins won't be willing to offer. So all of that adds up to me right now towards more probability than not that these are going to be his final games as a Redskin.
And, of course, Hopkins had a great game as well recently, too, against the Vikings. I got to get your thoughts, too, on Maryland's football team, rookie head coach real quick. But, they showed their balance in some earlier games, but showed the reality against Michigan and Ohio State not coming close.
Yeah, I mean, Durkin's such a good guy. I think he'll get it done. They've got a recruiting class that's really, really highly ranked for Maryland. They've got a top 20 recruiting class coming in next year. It's number 3, according to Rivals, I think, in the Big Ten. He needs the talent. They have no speed on defense. They make up for the lack of speed with no strength or size. As John McKay would put it, many years ago, the people who remember the old Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach. But it is, it's just they're void of talent on the defensive side of the ball in particular. So until he can add some players, they're just not going to be competitive with the Michigans and the Ohio States. It's not practical for them to be. With that said, they have a chance. It's going to seem sort of anticlimactic, but if they beat Rutgers in their season finale, they're going to be bowl eligible, and they'll probably go to a bowl game because of the way they started. They had some decent wins. Michigan State doesn't look that good in hindsight because they're not very good. But they had a couple of games where they were, halfway impressive. They are. It's just going to be tough for Maryland in the Big Ten. I mean, I'm an ACC guy. A lot of your listeners are more ACC people. I don't think I don't think I'll ever get over leaving the ACC and ACC basketball in particular.
Yeah, it was just an event. Of course, Lefty lives down here in Virginia Beach, and
I know. I talk to Lefty all the time. He's great.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And I want to get your thoughts too, real quick, about the Nats. Even though their season ended prematurely, are they going to ever get over the hump? We got Zimmerman, who's from this area, from Virginia Beach, went to UVA. It seems like every year they get close, they become irrelevant again. Dusty, of course, is a great manager, but we seem like they always peak early, Kevin. That's the problem with the Nationals. They peak early, and they don't evolve in the postseason.
Yeah, they were so close with a 2-1 series lead against the Dodgers and, a chance to win both games 4 and 5. And I think, if they'd come through in any one of those games, game 4 or 5, there would be a completely different narrative. That's the fine line sort of between, the discussion about they're not able to get it done and, boy, the glass is more than half full. They're still going to have really good pitching. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. There's been some discussion from people who are really, in the know that they may go after Chris Sale, which can you imagine Sale and Scherzer and Strasburg if he can come back healthy? You know, they lost a little bit in the starting pitching without Strasburg, and Lucas Giolito and the opportunities he got didn't look as good, and Ronaldo Lopez, another young arm, didn't look as good as a starter. So I think their starting pitching, which they've been so confident in over the last several years, I think after Scherzer, they're a little bit stumped right now on what to do. But don't be surprised if they spend another big contract on a pitcher like Chris Sale.
Yeah, definitely needs to be some emotional healing during the offseason with Rizzo and the entire team just to move forward for 2017. Because like you said, they've been so close. Finally, Redskins note too, when you look at Snyder, McLuhan, Allen, Doug Williams, is everybody in harmony right now? It seems. I mean, we in the TV booth, Kevin. We can see, because you guys were in the former radio booth. We can see Mr. Snyder's reactions a lot. Is everybody in harmony right now?
I think so. There is definitely a little bit of let's just say a disagreement on Kirk Cousins. I think that the head coach and the offensive coordinator would swear their children that signing Kirk Cousins is the only thing that makes sense. I think Bruce Allen has begun to believe that, and I think Dan Snyder believes that as well. Scott McLuhan, the general manager, I'm not so sure. We'll find out. There's 7 games. There's a lot of season left, so there's plenty of time for this sort of narrative to change, and Kirk can convince everybody. But, man, I don't know how at this point you wouldn't be convinced because, again, the position gets rewarded for competence, not excellence in the NFL. That's the nature of the quarterback position, and he's more than competent. He's closer to excellent than he is just competent, and I think that they'll figure that out, and I think that would be the one sort of area of contentiousness, or there are factions within the organization on each side of that.
Kevin, of course, we just went through the election, like we said, but you made a good point. I think a lot of people from the age of 40 plus who used to watch the ESPN on the minutia type days were watching CNN and Fox News Channel, and we got through that, but still a lot of drama left. 7 games left, like you said, and of course it starts with 2 big primetime games. Leave us with what kind of atmosphere do you expect on a Sunday night leading up to a holiday week playing the Packers?
I would think it would be a really good one on Sunday night. I think there's a sense that the Redskins are pretty good. I think there's a sense that this is a winnable game. There's a revenge factor to it. It's a team that came in here in early January and knocked them out of the playoffs when a lot of people thought Green Bay was down in that playoff game, and Aaron Rodgers lit them up, especially in the second, from the second quarter on. So I would expect a massive, Redskin home field advantage Sunday night. The Packer fans have to be a little bit down right now. They may not be traveling the way they typically travel. I think Sunday night, has a chance to be a really good night for Washington.
Leave us with any of your social media, Kevin. I know you're big on Twitter, and plug your show as well.
I mean, you can follow me on Twitter at KevinS980, and if you're in D.C., I host a show. I'm the co-host of Cooley and Kevin with former Redskins tight end Chris Cooley. We do 7 to 11 a.m. every morning. You can listen to us on 980 up here in D.C., or listen to us on ESPN980.com. We've got an app, too. You can just download the ESPN 980 app and listen to us, and we love that area down there for sure. And you mentioned my favorite person from that area, which is one Charles Grice, Lefty Drizel. Lefty, yes. If you're listening to me, man, call me. I haven't talked to you in a while. Yeah,
and you're too nice, Kevin. I'll say this, too, about Kevin. He's got the best show from 7 to 11 in the Mid-Atlantic. Kevin, we can hear it on an AM dial on a clear day like this down here in Newport News, Williamsburg. So don't sell yourself short. People can hear it, and not to mention TuneIn.com is a great app. I mean, this makes this show national. Every show is national.
Perfect.
All the best, my friend, to you and Cooley.
Right,
I know,
Greg.
and we will talk to you soon, Kevin.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, Kevin Sheehan right there from ESPN 980, of course, the pulse of sports in the Mid-Atlantic. I had the pleasure to work for Red Zebra from 2007 to 13. Really a true great radio host there, Kevin Sheehan. Also want to thank the USCAA. We had them on here this past week on Sports Scene. Had a chance to do their volleyball. And Joe Daniel, we talk about talking. I had to talk for 16 games. Repeat, 16 games this Saturday morning at the Virginia Beach Fieldhouse on the USCA network. Talk about a lot of water, talk about high maintenance. I had an analyst who did the color commentary. That was, my friend, grueling.
You had a lot of caffeine to get you through it?
You see what I get through just for a 1 hour show. But anyway, all right, stay tuned. We'll be back after this.
The place to go for U.S. rare coins is Newcastle Coins and Collectibles in Chesapeake. They specialize in U.S. and silver and gold coins and provide free verbal offers and are always buying U.S. rare coins. Newcastle Coins and Collectibles, 681 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, across from Chesapeake General, open Tuesday through Saturday and always online at newcastlecollectibles.com. Call 757-609-3633, 757-609-3633 for Newcastle Coins and Collectibles.
Mi Hogar is your restaurant for the finest Mexican cuisine in Hampton Roads. At Mi Hogar, everything is prepared fresh in a casual atmosphere. Enjoy traditional favorites such as quesadillas, tacos, burritos, and fajitas, as well as refreshing beverages. Mi Hogar has 2 locations, 4201 Granby Street in Norfolk and 801 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Call ahead at 640-7705. At Mi Hogar, there is something for everyone.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet.
Protect your house. Call Crawl Space Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawl Space Doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawl Space Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedores.com. Stay dry, my friends.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email the show, bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the Hampton Roads Online Mall.com studios. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by Hampton Roads Online Mall.com.
And a reminder, gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows. Watch sports highlights on nnpstv.com, including the Lansdowne game that Tommy Raymond coaches versus Woodside and Encore, in which Woodside won tonight at 7 o'clock on Cox Cable 47-517 on the Peninsula. All presented by Outback Steakhouse. Go by and see Mike and the friendly staff at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach for delicious lunch and dinner, late night, great appetizers like bloom petals and coconut shrimp, great steaks, seafood, pasta, burgers. They've got it all types of new courses right there at Outback Steakhouse in Virginia Beach. And, of course, for the holidays, a $10 bonus. Give the gift of bloomin' great steak and receive a $10 bonus card with $50 purchase and gift cards at Outback Steakhouse. And, of course, that's not a bad deal. You get $10 bonus right there for yourself. And, of course, go by and see Mike and the friendly staff at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach. Newly renovated, great place to lounge, relax with your friends, especially during the holidays. Outback just caters to the holidays. It's a great, great place for lunch and dinner. Catch up at the Outback at 1255 Fordham Drive in Kempsville. Go by and see Mike. We'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, listening to today's broadcast of Sports Scene in 175 countries and aboard the ships at sea on TuneIn.com by typing in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. Thanks for all that you do. We hope you're enjoying today's episode of Sports Scene right here on News Talk 1650 and TuneIn.com. Great place to watch sports is Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News. Go by and see Paul and their friendly staff at 12150 Jefferson Avenue. They've got great wings, of course. They're known for their wings, beer, sports, sodas, great appetizers, all types of new burgers they've got there in the best wings and sauce around. Watch college basketball, college football, and, of course, watch the NHL, NFL games, all at Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News. Your place for college and the NFL football is Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News. From all the conferences, they got all the networks, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, Fox Sports 1, Big Fox, CBS, NBC. Watch the Redskins-Packers Sunday at Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages. People in Chesapeake and Hampton Roads have come to expect the finest Italian food at Spaghetti Eddie's. In addition to great lunch and dinner served daily, this fine establishment caters to and can host your party. Call 484-7301 for their Taylor Road location and call 410-5500 for their restaurant in Greenbrier. For more, log on to SpaghettiEddie'sPizzaCafe.com.
The place to go for U.S. rare coins is Newcastle Coins and Collectibles in Chesapeake. They specialize in U.S. and silver and gold coins and provide free verbal offers and are always buying U.S. rare coins. Newcastle Coins and Collectibles, 681 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, across from Chesapeake General, open Tuesday through Saturday and always online at NewcastleCollectibles.com. Call 757-609-3633, 757-609-3633 for Newcastle Coins and Collectibles.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet.
Protect your house. Call Crawl Space Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawl Space Doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawl Space Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedores.com. Stay dry, my friends.
Sports Scene, Hampton Roads' premier interview show with Greg Bicouvaris, each Wednesday from 12 to 1 on AM 1650 and TuneIn.com.
It was a very proactive role for one gentleman, but the Board of Visitors and Woodsea League and the president kind of let him know that there is a pecking order involved.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Wednesdays at noon on AM 1650, The Answer.
Mi Hogar is your restaurant for the finest Mexican cuisine in Hampton Roads. At Mi Hogar, everything is prepared fresh in a casual atmosphere. Enjoy traditional favorites such as quesadillas, tacos, burritos, and fajitas, as well as refreshing beverages. Mi Hogar has two locations, 4201 Granby Street in Norfolk and 801 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Call ahead at 640-7705. At Mi Hogar, there is something for everyone.
Now back to Greg Bicouvaris and Sports Scene in the Hampton Roads Online Mall.com studio.
And welcome back to Sports Scene live right here on News Talk 1650, your only show during the convenient hour from 12 to 1 every Wednesday. Hope you enjoyed Kevin Sheehan from ESPN 980, part of the Redskins radio network as well. Joe Daniel, it's hard to believe 8 days before Thanksgiving.
I know. This month is just flying by. I think the election, like you were saying, has a lot to do with it. People are just paying so close attention to the election coverage that the rest of the month just flew by.
And not to mention, like a hangover afterwards, too, now. That's the other thing.
That's a good way to put it.
I mean, CNN and Fox News Channel really were a lot, eyeballs were on them during the election. Of course, after the election as well, they did a great job. All right, let's welcome a person we've had on before. Had him on Sports Highlights, had him on Sports Scene. Also, when I did Golf Scene at the game, the golf show, and also all types of shows when I worked at Red Zebra as well as here. Part of the Old Dominion broadcast family since the 70s. Rick Kiefner, how are you, buddy?
Fine, doing well. Thanks for having me on your show, Greg.
Very good. What a difference, too, Rick, when you talk about from 2015 to 2016. Last year, the whole theme was trying to get to 6 wins. Right now, Old Dominion's football team at 7-3 can still breathe a little bit better this year.
They're in great position. Right now, if we had to stop, they would probably have the third selection as far as the 7 bowl areas that are involved with Conference USA. But believe it or not, they have an opportunity. It's a slim chance where they could have the number 1 choice. They're tied as far as loss ratio with Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky is off this week. They've got 1 game left, and that is at Marshall. If Old Dominion can win their 2 games, Saturday and then next Saturday at Foreman Field, and Western Kentucky loses at Marshall, then it could be Old Dominion taking on Louisiana Tech for the championship of Conference USA. And if Old Dominion, they have not played, those 2 teams have not played this year, but if they wind up those 2 teams and Old Dominion wins, then they would have the first choice. So it's still wide open for Old Dominion University. I know it's a long shot, but right now they still have a shot at being the conference champion or finish in second place, or at very worst, winding up as the third choice.
Talking to Rick Kiefner, and Rick, exactly, and they're gaining confidence each week. They've beaten Hampton and UTSA, Charlotte, UMass, Marshall, Southern Miss, FIU in workmanlike fashion, lost to Appalachian State, NC State, and Western Kentucky, but the losses weren't as bad as they've been in years past. This team is really evolving under Coach Wilder, and it seems like him and his assistants right now are on the same page as well.
Absolutely. The plan is coming together. They knew that they were not going to be that really competitive with some of the FCS players that they had recruited before, only just a couple seasons into FBS and recruiting, et cetera. And he redshirted a lot of players. I believe this year all the freshmen except for one were redshirted. So he's sticking to his game plan, and it's paying off big dividends. Old Dominion has been very competitive, except for the 2 games early in the season against NC State and Appalachian State. But all the other games they've won or have been competitive.
If they win the next 2 or split the next 2, I mean, it's not bad going 8-4 or 9-3.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. A lot of people thought they wouldn't even have a winning record this year. That they could go 5-7 would be okay, but 6-6 would be wow. And then the record they have now would be a miracle. And certainly Bobby Wilder and the coaching staff have done a good job. And again, they're still in the thick of things. They could actually represent the East Division with Western Kentucky losing a week from Saturday at Marshall, and Old Dominion winning their 2 games. That would be something.
Any talk of what bowl possibly?
Well, there's 7 bowls, and what they're going to try and do with no matter which team is 1, 2, or 3 is get bowls that are going to be close to the fan support, where they can go out and see the fans have an opportunity to see their players. But if you look at the 7 bowls that have the arrangement with Conference USA, they're New Mexico, New Orleans, Miami, the Bahamas, St. Petersburg, Dallas, and Tucson. And basically, going into last week, the word that we were hearing as far as Old Dominion winding up, say, in the third position was the Bahamas Bowl, the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl in Nassau, Bahamas, which would be a morning game on Thursday, December 24th. But again, that was just kind of hearsay, and with the idea that Old Dominion would be the third-place team in Conference USA.
We're talking to Old Dominion's Rick Kiefner from the pregame show as well, been part of the basketball coverage in the past as well. Talking right here on Sports Scene on 1650 at 1247. Also, tunein.com by typing in WHKT. And Rick, the last few years, people have kind of looked ahead to basketball season, but this is different. There's 2 very relevant football games, even though Old Dominion's basketball team got 2 nice state wins against James Madison and Richmond.
Absolutely. I know a lot of listeners might not want to hear this, but I've been involved with Old Dominion since the early 70s and doing basketball when that was basically the only sport. But I think the situation has changed, that now it's Old Dominion is a football school, and obviously basketball is very, very, very good, always a big part of the Old Dominion basketball of the athletic program. But right now, especially in the fall season, football is on a lot of people's minds that support Old Dominion athletics.
Yeah, because they've got 3 games for sure, and you can't say that in the past, but so many times. 2 regular season games and a bowl game. That bowl game will be on national TV, and Old Dominion will be in the news the entire month of December, as the same time the basketball team will be.
Absolutely, just things are. It's a good time, Greg, to be a Monarch fan. That's for sure.
Right. Let's talk about the basketball team, the men's team, off to a pretty good start. Not big wins, but they were close. 1 on the road, 1 at home. Of course, Conference USA is always tough.
It is tough. They're going to have a good conference this year. I think it's going to be a lot tougher than last year. You might remember Old Dominion lost in the last seconds in the conference championship to Middle Tennessee. And what did Middle Tennessee do? They defeated and upset Michigan State in the first round. So this year, I think the conference is going to be much, much stronger. I think Old Dominion is going to have really an excellent team. They're going to be stronger, too. You lose Trey Freeman, but they've got all the new players. And I think you're going to find out that Old Dominion is going to be a much better team the end of February than the end of November, as these kids get acclimated, the new players get acclimated to Coach Jones and what he's trying to do for the program.
Really exciting. And last note on football, too. Butch Davis back in Conference USA, former Miami coach.
Well, that was a rumor, and the rumor proved true. A couple of weeks ago, we had heard that in talking with some of the people in Conference USA that he was being looked at. Certainly his background, the record, he coached Cleveland Browns, he coached Carolina, he coached Miami Hurricanes, he lives down there, etc. He has been a winner wherever he's gone, except maybe for the Cleveland Browns. But as you know, no one's winning for Cleveland Browns. But I think he's going to really turn it around. And I've been looking at the Florida Atlantic roster, and they have got a ton, as expected, a ton of Florida players. And that state is one of the top, if not top 2 recruiting states in the country. They've got a lot of good players, and I think he's going to turn things around for the Owls.
Leave us with a future note about the stadium at Old Dominion in the future. As you, what are you hearing?
Well, basically, what you're reading about it's got to get passed by the legislature as far as, and that's not going to be a problem at all. So, what's going to happen? They'll probably start sometime. They'll basically get the approval, and then I think as far as the time schedule is concerned, they will basically have the plans drawn up, et cetera, send out bids, get that approved, competitive bids, and then what I'm hearing is basically the first day after the 2017 football season, they'll start working and start it and get it ready.
Rick, all the best to Old Dominion. 2 more games left in a bowl, so it'll be 3 total. All the best to you and the great staff at Old Dominion.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me on your show.
My pleasure. Rick Kiefner right there from the Old Dominion Radio Network as well, brought to you by Tokyo Grill and Buffet at 49 West Mercury Boulevard in Hampton. Give them a call at 788-8883. Great lunch and dinner buffet 7 days a week. Have your holiday parties there. They're in the Langley Square Shopping Center, of course, right near Food Lion, right on West Mercury Boulevard at 49 West Mercury Boulevard. Asian, hibachi, sushi, American food, really delicious. Tokyo Grill and Buffet. Don't get it confused with any other restaurant called Tokyo. It's on 49 West Mercury Boulevard. And Joe Daniel, that's one thing too. If you say an address now with Google, it really helps you out a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I normally do. I have to look at the address because there's a lot of kind of like make sure you don't go by anything that's just Tokyo because they have their own little spin. Tokyo Grill, Tokyo Buffet, Tokyo whatever.
Right, and also Willie's Tobacco and Cigars. Go by and see Willie. He's got some great holiday gifts. All your tobacco needs, premium cigars, pipe tobacco as well at 5005 Victory Boulevard, right next to the Kroger and the Super Kmart. Great holiday specials. WillieCigars.com. Go by and see Willie. He will hook you up for all your holiday needs. Excellent humidor. Really, folks, go by and see Willie for a great gift today. We'll come back with What Teased Me Off on Sports Scene live on 1650 AM. TuneIn.com. It's Greg Bick on Twitter. That's GregBic. Stay tuned.
The place to go for U.S. rare coins is Newcastle Coins and Collectibles in Chesapeake. They specialize in U.S. and silver and gold coins and provide free verbal offers and are always buying U.S. rare coins. Newcastle Coins and Collectibles, 681 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, across from Chesapeake General, open Tuesday through Saturday and always online at newcastlecollectibles.com. Call 757-609-3633, 757-609-3633 for Newcastle Coins and Collectibles.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet.
Protect your house. Call Crawl Space Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawl Space Doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawl Space Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedores.com. Stay dry, my friends.
Hi, this is Greg Bicouvaris, inviting you to join me for Sports Scene live each Wednesday from noon to 1 right here on News Talk 1650 and TuneIn.com by typing WHKT in the search box. Excellent guests and interaction at Greg Bick on Twitter, all powered by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Sports Scene each Wednesday from noon to 1 right here on News Talk 1650.
Now back to Greg Bicouvaris and Sports Scene in the HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com studio.
And welcome back to Sports Scene right here on 1650 AM. TuneIn.com. Type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. Always a pleasure. Go to GJBTV.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows. That's gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows as well. And, of course, it's the holiday season. It really is now, folks. Go to HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Although I'm glad a lot of radio stations, of course, you should listen to this one first, are not inundating us with holiday music just yet.
I've heard a few, though. I've heard a few. They're starting the holiday music, the Christmas music. I can't believe it.
Yeah, a friend of mine was talking about, speaking of holiday music, I want to get your thoughts too, because you've got kids, about cartoons and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You see a lot of cartoon and animated movies. You know, the ratings in the NFL have gone down. If there was, and have an open mind when I'm going to say this here, if there was a primetime movie, right, brand new primetime movie, let's just say on CBS or NBC, competing against a sporting event, what is that cartoon primetime movie? SpongeBob. I really think, in our society, as crazy as it's gotten, that would beat some sporting events. Because what is it about kids from like 3 to 20 still love that show?
Yeah, it's SpongeBob is a unique cartoon. It's multi-generational because it's a fun show for the little kids, but also they throw in some, I don't want to say adult humor, but definitely more mature humor,
right,
to keep those higher. And plus, it's been on for so long, so the people who started out with it, like myself, I mean, I'm 28 right now.
You're still watching it, right?
Well, I'm not still watching it, but it's still something that I grew up with. And so it's just like, SpongeBob, and it just takes you back to those better days.
But it seems like Patrick is the one that causes him the peer pressure. You know? It seems like he's the cause of all this peer pressure.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Peer pressure.
Let's get to what teased me off, of course.
What Tees You Off? Presented by GJBTV.com.
And also CP Shuckers with locations on Shore Drive and Pacific Avenue. People love their prime ribs, seafood, and much more in their great lunch and dinner menu. Like both locations on Facebook and log on to cpshuckers.com. Eat or be eaten at CP Shuckers. Great place to watch the NFL, NASCAR as they close out their season, NHL, NBA, college basketball, college football, all the great soccer at CP Shuckers. Go by and see Matt, Mark, Chef Leon at both their great locations. Of course, great holiday parties for you right there at CP Shuckers. Great appetizers, burgers, pastas, seafoods, delicious soups and desserts at CP Shuckers. All right, what tees me off? When you get a check from a bank that doesn't exist, the new bank might take it, but why even bother? Because they're too lazy, so they kept the old bank checks.
I cannot relate to that.
Let's say you get a check from a bank that doesn't exist anymore, but the new bank honors it, but the customer keeps the old checks with the old bank on it. Yeah. Doesn't make sense. Lack of proper condiments at a counter restaurant, like mayo, mustard, ketchup, relish. Excuse me, ma'am, or hot sauce. I need this, I need that, I need this. Oh, what's your name? You don't have a name tag, so I don't even know what your name is. So
I don't like the packets. When they only provide packets of ketchup or packets of mustard, I hate that. Give me a pump, give me something so I can get a lot. Because I'm a condiment guy. I need a lot. I hate having to rip them open.
And they squirt all over your shirts.
Exactly.
Well, how about soap in the bathroom when it squirts all over your shirt, too? So-called media experts, we realize that there are no media experts. The person who became the president of the United States, nobody predicted that. Political clicks.
Oh, there's one guy who predicted that. And we have him right here on 1650 in the morning between 6 to 10. John Frederick.
There you go. Parents who create scenes at their adult kids' sporting events. Really, your kids are adults. They're not 5 years old anymore. Who cares? Rochester College of Michigan, yes, we're talking about you. Demonstrators. The whole reason this country is great, we have the right to exercise our chance to vote. Don't demonstrate. Vote, vote, vote. And also, by the way, what's great about our country is that you can vote and freedom of speech. You can't win all elections, and your candidate, no matter the year or the decade, can't win them all, whether Republican or Democratic. And, of course, Joe Daniel, of course, always a pleasure. I want to thank Kevin Sheehan from ESPN 980, Rick Kiefner from the Old Dominion Football Radio Network pregame show. Go to gjbtv.com, hit the YouTube link for archive shows. Enjoy this really nice weather right here. Of course, at Greg Bick on Twitter, and of course for more go to gjbtv.com, and powered by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com, your place to browse, shop, and visit. That's HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Happy Wednesday. For Joe Daniel, I'm Greg Bicouvaris, and we will talk to you soon.
The best of News Talk Radio in Hampton Roads, AM 1650, WHKT Portsmouth. We are the answer.